mainly by the Telugu workforce. Our presence in all the countries, in growing the economy to their countries. The support from the Telugu employees or the Telugu diaspora is really wonderful. So our government, under the dynamic leadership of Sri Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu, is here to support all the tech companies coming down to Andhra Pradesh. We are trying to develop 3 IT concept cities in the state. One in Visakhapatnam, one in Anantapur, and one in Chennai. One near to Chennai is Tirupati. So we have selected these 3 towns or the cities, the tier 2 cities, Visakhapatnam, Tirupati, and Anantapur, where the ecosystem is already developed. And selecting Tirupati and Anantapur is because of the nearby cities like Bangalore and Chennai. The Telugu IT Park, which is coming up in Anantapur, which is just close to Bangalore Airport, is just 1 hour away from the Bangalore Airport. When you get on the flight in Bangalore, going to the electronic city or the IT parks in Bangalore city, it will take almost 2 to 2.5 hours crossing the city, going through the traffic and all. But it's better coming down to Andhra Pradesh near to Telugu in Anantapur. It's just 1 hour from the Bangalore airport. So we have selected that IT park. Probably we'll be developing it in around 500 to 600 acres. One is coming up. We have already have that ecosystem in Visakhapatnam, the 2 IT parks on the hills in Rishikonda. The new Adani data center is the foundation is being laid on March 3rd in the Global Investment Summit by the Honorable Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu. And the new IT park is coming down in Bhogapuram, near to the new international airport, which is being built by the state government. And one in Tirupati in the electronic manufacturing cluster near to the Tirupati airport. We are developing that IT park in Tirupati. So these are the 3 major IT cities we are developing in the state of Andhra Pradesh. You know, work from home is the recent concept after the COVID situations all over the world. But the state government of Andhra Pradesh is encouraging the work from hometown concept, where we are creating infrastructure in their hometowns, where the digital libraries are coming down in all the 15,000 panchayat areas in the state. We have almost 15,000 ward and village secretariats all over the state. So all the village secretariats and the ward secretariats are combined with the digital libraries, where we are creating that environment for the IT employees to work from their hometowns. Recently, our Honorable Chief Minister has inaugurated digital library in Kadapa district, where different parts of the almost 15 to 20 students, 15 to 20 IT professionals working in that area have come down to work in that digital library. One from Infosys, one from Tech Mahindra, one from TCS. So all of them working from their hometown, being with the family, being with their friends, staying in the hometown where they studied.
You know, what do you think about manufacturing? What do you think about services? What do you think about the primary sector? And as an industries minister, you need to obviously give me your perspective, your state's perspective, and how do you see this landscape changing over the next few years, next few decades? So one of the things I told her, you know, whoever I meet, wherever I meet, whichever industrialist, whichever potential investor that I meet, they have a renewed enthusiasm towards setting up a manufacturing base in India. ఇప్పుడు మీరు especially post the pandemic, post COVID, where the world has realized that there is too much dependence on China for everything, for bulk drugs, for medical supplies, for everything literally. And when the supply chain was disrupted, I think every single industrialist, be it small, micro, medium or large, was affected in one way or another. So the world has started really thinking about this excessive reliance and excessive dependence on China. You talk to the biggest players, the Fortune 500 companies or even the smallest of players, they all tell me the same thing, They all tell you that there has to be a China plus one strategy. You can manufacture in China for China, but for the rest of the world needs, we need to start looking at other bases. Now, because we are similar in terms of our sizes, China and India, 1.4 billion people, 1.4 billion people. So in terms of the workforce, in terms of think force, people will draw that oversimplified comparison and say, if we are moving away from China, a logical thing to go to, logical place to go to would be India. But when a lot of overseas investors, be it Japanese or Americans or Europeans, they ask me, if China is able to do a few things in a certain way, why can't India do it? I only tell them one thing. China is a country which is very homogeneous, which is very unique in terms of how it is structured, in terms of how it is controlled, in terms of how it is administered. But India is very different. India is a democracy to begin with. India is not one, but there are 28 different Indias, if you ask me, because of the federal structure we have. Each state is so uniquely empowered. The makers of our constitution had envisioned India as a union of states. So therefore, each state, and especially the gateway that you choose to enter India through, will determine your impression of India, will determine how easy you find doing business in India. That's the general thought I leave with any of my potential investor. Having said that, when I travel and when I visit countries like the US, Japan, and other large economies, I was never more impressed than I was with in Japan. When I was in Japan, and going back to what Srinivas Garu was saying, one of the things that struck me, besides everything that is nice about Japan, the clean streets, the beautiful landscape, etc., etc., the one thing that stood out in my memory, we had a meeting scheduled with the chairman of Suzuki, Osamu Suzuki-san. So we traveled all the way to Hamamatsu from Tokyo. We took a nice bullet train. We were there in 1.5 hours. And we were ahead of time, because I know the Japanese are sticklers for time. They're very punctual, right? So I said, I don't want to take chances. I'm meeting a big man, trying to bring him to India, to my state rather. So I was there ahead of time. I was there almost 1 hour ahead of time. Me, Jayesh, my entire team was there. So what we were told was, because we reached ahead of time, they said, he's in a board meeting. Why don't you actually go visit the Suzuki Museum? I'm actually not a big fan of museums. I said, okay, whatever. To kill time, I'll go there, spend some time and come back. So we went into the Suzuki Museum. We were going around. Actually, when I ended up there, it was fascinating. When was the first Suzuki automobile made? When did this happen? When did that happen? It was very, very unique, very, very uniquely positioned, that museum. And I even found one of Chiranjeevi Garu's pictures there. That's a different story. I'll save it for another day. But we were going through the museum. What I found, to my amusement, and which I thought was very intriguing, was there were a bunch of, I would say, 7 or 8-year-old boys and girls from a school, all in school uniforms, going around the entire museum. I said, this is interesting. A grown adult like me, I might find this interesting, but what would this be of interest to any of these young kids, especially those in 2nd grade or 3rd grade? Why would this be of any interest to them? So I asked one of my Japanese friends there, I said, what are they doing here? What are the little kids doing here? He said, watch what they're doing. What they've been doing there is, which was so amazing later on when I realized, they actually were, of course, given the tour of the place, shown automobiles and how automobile evolution happened in Suzuki, etc., etc. Then later on, they were led to a kiosk. A kiosk, like the vending machine that we have for soda and other snacks. Typically, that you'd run into in a hotel lobby or in your office. There was one such vending machine where the kid could go and pick the color of the vehicle, the make of the vehicle, customize it, and then click a few buttons, and out would come a car with the kid's name on it, with the specific model he wanted, with the specific thing he wanted. I said, so what is the lesson you're trying to, impart to these kids here? He said, my Japanese friend said, design thinking, engineering from a very early age. We need to tell our kids that manufacturing really holds the key to the growth of the world, to the expansion of your thinking, and to the expansion of your abilities, because the world cannot do without, we are all seated on furniture here, I'm speaking in a mic. Each of this is manufactured somewhere in the world. Each of this is designed in a certain way. So what they're trying to inculcate in those young kids is design thinking from a very early age, and also that importance that needs to be given to the manufacturing sector. You know, each of us, when we go back home, or even if you look around here, there's plenty of Japanese products, there's plenty of Korean products in your living room. Please go back and, when you go back home today, please look around. There is a Sony television, there is a Panasonic air conditioner, there is a Toyota vehicle possibly you're running, or a Honda, there is a Samsung phone that you may be using, there is a LG refrigerator possibly in your home. The point I'm trying to make is, what I admire about a country like Japan, and companies like Daifuku, is the amazing tenacity, the amazing resilience they've shown over the last few decades. Remember, Japan was the only nation in the world which had experienced the most tragic